Hello guys, Fourfinger here, and I just wanted to make one last video before I go to Belgrade tomorrow. So this is going to be a build guide for the Flameblast. As we made one video already, I made a lot of updates and now the build feels really amazing. So as you can see in the background, this is level 80 Steaming Springs, and I made a lot of changes in regarding the skill setup. So as on purpose, before starting Breach, I took the demon form out so I have no stacks, because a lot of people are saying you need a lot of ramp up time before you start doing damage. For mapping, that's not the case whatsoever. And when it comes to bossing, for most bosses, by the time you get to them, doesn't matter if it's mapping, Breach boss, Arbiter, you're gonna have enough stacks to kill them with no issues. Only boss that you would need a little bit of ramp is King in the Mist, because you start fighting him almost immediately, so that's the only one that's like a little bit like you have to ramp up. Besides that, everything feels great. And the funniest part is the Flame Blast is not even doing the main damage in the mapping. It's actually our cast and Ignite, yeah, and we have the Detonate Dead supported on it. And because we're scaling area of effect for the Flame Blast anyway, this works on Detonate Dead too, and it's almost like a herald for the spellcasters right now. That's how it feels. Here is like a map where I found the breach later in the map on purpose. Now I have full stacks, and when you get to this high amount of stacks, everything gets one-shotted. Like, no matter what comes close to you, it just gets insta-killed, and then when it dies, because we do so much damage, and cast and ignite scales on the ignite damage times the power and stuff like that, you pretty much keep rocking it 24/7, and look, this is a rare mob, it just disappears, like in one cast, everything is insta-dead. And funniest part is you no longer have rare mobs in maps when you have build like this, because even when you have no stacks, rare mobs are usually surrounded by something else, and because Detonate Dead is like such a crazy damage like source, it just insta-kills them. Like every time you run into rare, as long as you're over 10 stacks, which is after 10 seconds of ramping, everything just gets destroyed. So yeah, this is how the AoE looks like, you get the idea. I mean, for map clearing this is insane. Like you have huge AoE, everything insta-dies. Great, you might be asking how does the bossing feel. Here is the tier 17 Citadel boss. When you get, like I said, over 100 stacks, everything feels like really smooth and easy. You perma-stun them, shock them with the what's called Mana Tempest, and then you just do your thing. Now he phases and goes into the Wolf. Here you can see the final burst coming out, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, this build, like I said, really good. Only issues will be if there's some bosses, more bosses in the content where you have to ramp up, but then you can just run around the boss for a little or wait till the ramp gets like at least 30 for it to start feeling good. Overall build is really great, so let's just jump into how everything blends together. So let's just get gear out of the way first, and same thing as I said last time, if you wanna run demon form, make sure you don't kill Candlemass boss in the act 1. If you do it in normal difficulty, it gives you 20 max HP item that you don't want, because you wanna keep the life as low as humanly possible, so it's easier to sustain the stacks on the demon form. And on cruel it gives you 8% increased max life, so that's the also one you want to avoid. So try not to kill this boss if you already did. I think it's better to remake the character, otherwise you're gonna invest like at least 20 more divines to keep up with the life regen, so yeah, keep that in mind. When it comes to items, I haven't changed much. I'm gonna got this to 61, because as we said before, the least amount of life possible is the goal. Those are probably like, on the max rolls and stuff like this, like 45 divines. You can get similar one for maybe 2, with just a little bit less, which would be totally fine. For the helmet, you don't want anything close to this, you only want 2 resist and life regen, and then depending on your budget, just as much energy shield as you can get. Because right now cold resistance doesn't really matter too much on this build. It's kind of useless, because I also have like 20% of cold taken as fire, and we have 86% fire res, so like I said, really not important. I just found it for like 3 divines from some Chinese guy, so I was like, hell yeah. And then for the ring and belt setup, if you don't have the money for the endgame stuff, which I assume most of the people don't, you wanna run the rare belt instead, which has 2 resist and life regen, and then for the rings you wanna run 2 of the Minx hearts. Now those used to be really cheap, but they got kind of expensive as of late, because you can probably get 2 of those on 24. So if you go here on the uniques, you can press this, and you can say like -24, which is a corrupted one, but not the strongest possible, and they are 1 divine, yeah. So if you are running stuff like this, you can get 2 of those, and then you can probably like maybe find it for 2 with better reduced global defenses and chaos damage depending on the market. But if you have more money, of course go for the 27 one, but I think they are like 5 to 6 divines depending on the time of the day, I assume. So for the other one, and the main reason I am using the belt, is for the cast speed. You can't really get cast speed on a lot of places. I could on the amulet, but finding all the other stats like skills, spell skill gem levels, and then life, regen, energy shield, it would be expensive. And I also didn't notice any on the market that are on that level. So yeah, get some mana, cast speed, LRS, life, regen, pretty much it. And like I said before, if you're running rare build, then just run 2 Minx cards instead, and that's it. For the gloves, as much resist as you can, and then energy shield, and for the boots, pretty much the same thing, life, regen, chaos res, and yes, that's it. So the main idea is any item that can have life regen, you have to have life regen, cap resistances, and that's mainly the goal, and you're using Mink Heart either with the Ingenuity, which gives like 76 to, I mean from 40 to 80, like bonus equipment for me it's like 27, and then you have like times 1.76. So I get something like, I don't know, maybe 50-ish, around 50-ish reduce max life, stuff like that. But if you run 2 of those on 24, you'll be on the same spot, and you'll get resist and life regen on the belt, you will just lose cast speed, so keep that in mind. So yeah, that's the gear, guys. Hopefully this can be like made with maybe 20-30 divines, but I wouldn't suggest going anything under, so yeah. So when it comes to Ascendancy points, I explained it in the last video why we don't use other stuff, but we only want Loyal Hellhound, Demonic Possession, Altered Flesh, and then for the last 2 you want spell damage and max mana. And the reason why you don't want any of those, you have to pick max life nodes, which we don't want for our life, and because we have such low life, they give us almost nothing. So those are out of the picture. This will straight up kill us, so we cannot take any of the other 3. We wanna get over 200 stacks, so this is out of the picture. And finally, Flameblast has really low crit chance, so we're not scaling crit anyway. Plus this ignites us and we don't want it 100%. So this is the Ascendancy setup. And when it comes to the skill setup, as before, Demon Form with Second Wind, making it always perma up, because by the time one drops, the next one is ready to go. Infernal Hellhound, we make it as tanky as possible, so it can soak with the Ascendancy points, so like Mid Shield, Elemental Army, Minion Mastery for +1, and then Culling Strike just in case the one on the Mana Tempest doesn't work, but I think it does, so yeah. For the Flameblast, I removed the other one, I'm just running one now. I'm running it with Arcane Tempo, Control Destruction, Magnified Effect, Arcane Surge, and I'll explain why, and Inspiration. So this one is straightforward, like I said, the more cast speed we have, the better the build feels, because we get those huge circles faster. This is because we are not scaling crit, as we said, straight up 30% more damage. Maybe a bit less because we would have 8% crit, but more damage. Magnified Effect is the one you don't really need. You could get the, what's it called, the one for the energy start. Let me just show you which one I mean. So here we have energy. Let me just find it. I'm sure I put it somewhere around here. Yeah, you could take this one, and this is really good for bossing because you almost always get stunned. And as long as because you're always casting Flameblast, every time you do get stunned, your energy shield starts recharging immediately. So this one defensively is amazing, and you could use this one for bosses. You could also use Concentrated Effect instead for bosses for more damage and less area of effect. It really depends on how much damage you have, how good is your sustain. You just play around with 3 of those. So like I said, you either go with the... Let me just open the skill setup. So either go with this for mapping or Concentrated Effect for bossing. And if you have problems with like sustaining energy shield, you can go for that one instead. Now Arcane Surge is because we need a lot of mana, and as I said before, cast speed is great. We also like invest a little bit on the tree, and we get like 70% increased effect. So it's like decent amount of cast speed, a lot of mana, regen, which we need. Really kind of a must-have, I would say, for this high level of the builds. And I'm not even like, when I go Demon Form, it's 31. And I still need to corrupt this to get this to 20 and corrupt to 21, so it would be 33 level gem. And Inspiration, as we said before, to have less mana issues, because it's like 487 mana per second. So until we get Arcane Surge, you can see how fast it burns. And now with Arcane Surge, at least it's doable. You press some mana pot from here and from time to time, but as you can see, it's sustainable. So yeah, that's the main skill setup. When it comes to Solar Orb, Fire Exposure, strip away, it immediately inflicts both of those. Font of Mana, try to stay relatively close to it to get the mana bonus, especially on bosses, otherwise you might have to pot a lot. So this helps a little bit. And then Execute for some minor damage on Solar Orb. You can pretty much also get the Overabundance to have 2 of them. They also have decent damage with the huge increases from the Demon Form, so... Yeah, but if you don't have the money for it, it's not worth the investment. Even this one is not needed, like, keep in mind. For the Flammability, try to get the low level of the gem as possible, otherwise mana is gonna become a huge issue. And then get Heightened Curse Focus Curse, and Persistence. Sadly, we cannot use any of the weapon set slash shapeshift because we're always in a shapeshift and we cannot really use weapon set whatsoever. That's kind of sad, but it is what it is. Mana Tempest, huge damage boost. As you can see, like we have 8k now, and if I press the Mana Tempest, it goes to like 13k. And on top of it, we have stuff like 15% more damage, Culling Strike, and Lightning Mastery to make it stronger. But as I said in the last video, I'm not 100% sure this support gem works. I know the spell works on the damage wise, but I'm not sure if this one works. But either way, we already have really good damage, so doesn't really matter too much. And this helps us shock. We shock even the endgame bosses with 96 added as lightning, so really good to have. Now this is new. I've replaced the the ice armor or arctic armor. I replaced it for cast and ignite, and once I go into human form I have blink. Once I'm in demon form I activate cast and ignite and grim feast. We run detonate dead with lowest level possible because it deals physical damage equal to 20% of corpse's max life. And as you've seen in the video before, it just explodes everything. Then you have stuff like, so make sure you also quality it up. Even the skills that are on the cast setup, they can be qualityed. You run spell echo, so it happens twice, more AoE, more damage from it, and then the spell cascade. This works as well, that's why you see them exploding all over the place. And this is pretty much our clear. This is just sustain, you double your energy shield, you can get 18k in maps, and then blink with ingenuity. So yeah. Also, yeah, get clarity on the Grim Feast for some more mana regen, as we said before. So that's pretty much our skill setup. I'm not sure if I would change anything besides adding Barrier of Invocation. And the reason for that is only one issue this build has is if you get stun chain locked for like 10 seconds. I had that happen. If you have a lot of those melee fast hitting mobs and you dash in and they instantly start hitting you and surround you, you pretty much can't do anything. Unless you invest a lot in stun recovery or stun threshold. Other way would be to get like less stats on the amulet, get spirit here, and pray for the spirit corrupt on the helmet. Because if you get 60 spirit and you can run Barrier of Invocation as well, you can pretty much put any possible spell in the book. Because of our high increased damage from the Demon Flame, whatever comes in close and hits you few times is gonna probably the Barrier of Invocation and kill it. So if you get that, this build has zero issues, literally zero. And the reason I didn't do that yet is because I honestly want to try as many builds as I can in early access, but this just feels amazing. If I would upgrade it any further, that would be my next goal. Get the spirit for it in any way possible, and then socket it with some gem with some damage, and you're safe. You can't die to pretty much anything besides maybe Arbiter one-shots, but honestly I think most of his damage comes from the fire anyway, so it doesn't one-shot us. Keep that in mind. And as we said before, if you run that energy shield on the stun, which would happen on all the big hits, it would insta-recover. So I'll probably make like one more Arbiter kill video at the end, and this build is gonna be looking amazing. So yeah guys, hopefully I covered everything. I'm gonna leave the Mobilistic link in the description, so you can copy the support links and stuff. And feel free to ask if you have any questions. If I did forget anything, I'll probably add it as a pin in the comment section. And that should be it. I'm just thinking before ending if there's anything else I forgot. I usually forgot like 5 things, but when I'm making a video it's like, how can't I remember? But yeah, I just want to wish Happy New Year's to everyone. Have fun guys, enjoy yourselves, and see ya back in January.